Hi, my name is Angie from Still Life with Circles. Thank you so much for joining me on this spoken word blog roundup or rodeo or whatever you want to call it. I'm just so grateful to be able to hopefully hear other people read their blog posts and to share something here that I've written. I know it's not very comfortable to do this, to kind of talk to a camera or whatever, but I hope you consider joining. I did actually an MP3, but Blogger doesn't host MP3s for podcasts, and it seemed pretty complicated to go on a third site and all that stuff. So I just thought I'd do a video. So you get to see me too, and it's kind of weird because my camera is behind my screen, so I'm going to be reading from my screen when I read my essay, just because I thought it might not be as distracting as if I was looking straight down like that. But it still might be distracting. So anyway, I'll do my best. I was really debating what I should choose to read. I wanted to do something funny because I think humor translates not great on blog posts just because it's such a flat read, and I probably come off glib a lot, but I'm actually trying to make a joke. So I kind of wanted to get my cadence and read something funny. I especially like writing dialogue, so I like reading all my conversation posts. They are fun to go back and read. My sister really wanted me to read Monkey Mind, which was like the one where I was meditating, like that internal voice, the crazy internal voice. She thinks that was funny. I think she gets my humor because she knows my sense of humor. But anyway, I ended up choosing something that wasn't funny. I chose something from Glow in the Woods. The reason I chose this essay is because it was written at 2 years from the death of my daughter, or from the birth of my daughter, however you want to look at it. So I chose it because I think it's a good marker. It kind of encapsulates the dual feelings that I have about grief and my daughter's death, how I feel like I know her and don't know her, just stuck in this weird liminal place. And I also chose it because I read my essay from They Were Still Born. It's called Mothering Grief. I read that aloud to people. I have done readings, and that's marking the first anniversary of my daughter's death and birth. So this is kind of a nice juxtaposition. At some point, maybe I'll read that to a camera too and just share that. If I know a lot of people on the West Coast always ask me when I'm coming to the West Coast for reading, and so I'm not probably going to get there. So maybe I'll do it that way at some point. So anyway, this is my essay called Smoke and Mirrors. And I need to apologize because I do not speak French. So there is a French line in here. And God, I asked somebody how to pronounce this and they were like, just wing it. So I'm just going to wing it. Anyway, here's my essay entitled Smoke and Mirrors. Smoke and Mirrors. My daughter is dead 2 years. Time is like a funhouse hall of mirrors. Some memories stretch your worst parts and shrink your best. Your boobs are all but eradicated and those thighs feel wider than possible. In the next step, you look tall and lean and impossibly good. I want to live in this mirror, you whispered, and no one in particular. Your daughter is alive in this mirror, and you're happier than you thought possible. The next reflection, the straight, unchanged view of the present, may be the most horrifying of all. I like the funhouse mirror analogy because the moment grief sneaked into the room and breathed this hot, sour breath on my neck, it felt like a carnival ride. It was nauseating and smelled funny. I recognized the puddles of sick around me from my earlier rides. I glimpsed the freak show catatonic slip out the back, leaning against the wagon, smoking a cigarette, laughing at the bearded lady. Other people's lives of contentment are all smoke and mirrors, too. I realized it back then like it was some kind of secret. I'm not there anymore, but it makes me miss the immediacy of that early grief. All these mirrors together in one place are confusing me. They're distorting the truth. I don't want to return to the worst moments of my life, even if the mirror makes that moment so present and exacting in its goal that it feels attractive. The rawness of grief puts everything into perspective. I had no other goal than mourn, weep, survive. At 2 years out, I miss the surety of that perspective. I wanted to outrun grief then. I am in some other mirror now, the one that looks normal, except that distorts my forehead into a large teardrop shape of grief. No, wait, time is like time. It moves forward and you heal in spite of yourself. You heal even when you absolutely don't want to heal because the wound is the only thing tying you to your dead baby. You end up in a place that looks like healing, or you don't, but you end up. You get 2 years from the moment of death and you shake your head and you wonder if you really remember anything about the early grief, except that you are absolutely sure it was the worst feeling in the world. And that holding her dead body was absolutely the best of the worst moments of your life. I tried to bend time with my mind, twist it like a Mobius strip until the beginning and end are one. On that 2-year strip of time, I can touch her again while simultaneously realizing what it means 2 years later to only have 2 hours with my daughter. Even if I can't change her death, I still want this me to tell that me to breathe her in a little longer. I would shake me, savor these 2 hours, I would tell me, study her like the most important test of your life, undress her. Look at her bum and her little tootsie, sing her the song in Spanish that puts all your babies to sleep. This is the only 2 hours you get her for your whole fucking life. Get out of your pity party and kiss every part of her. I dreamed her once. It was winter at my grandmother's house and she clung to my midsection, and I, thinking she was still inside, reached down, surprised to feel her body on the outside and to see her eyes open. Lucia smiled at me. I lifted her and looked into her violet eyes. She was lovely and peaceful. It was the only time I saw her alive, and it was wholly in my subconscious. Sometimes I miss a dream as much as I miss the daughter. There was a time and a moment when I believed I knew her, and she was mine and I was hers. I never knew her. She never belonged to me. 2 years later, I don't even have her scent in my memory anymore. I don't remember her face exactly. I cried to our grief therapist 2 weeks out. I'm afraid to forget her, I cried. And the therapist said, you will never forget her. She's your daughter. I didn't mean that I would forget that she existed. I meant I would forget what her face looked like in real life. And even then I was forgetting. It was drifting away like the funhouse analogy. I knew it, and that's why I cried. I forget her. Pictures flatten her, stretch her out, covered with death. I can't bear to look at them anymore. They are not her. They are like Magritte's painting, The Treachery of Images. Ce n'est pas ma fille. This is not my daughter. This is a picture of my daughter, but it's not her. When she was born, her nose had life, even though it didn't. This nose is bruised and covered in dense vernix. This nose is dead and two-dimensional. It does not look kissed at all. My daughter was three-dimensional, like my love for her. I have nothing of her now but the flatness of grief. When solstice comes, I will walk out into the darkness, bundle up, and remember her with the light. It is the contradiction that I feel in me, warm and loving at the same time as her death has left me cold and alone. The winter cradles me in its icy arms, kisses my forehead, reminds me that I am alone, but warmed by the absolute cold of grief. It is a riddle, a kind of Zen koan of grief. When you have cold, I will give you the winter. When you are burning with heat, I will give you the sun. When you are the loneliest, you feel part of the universal tribe of lonely people. I meditate on it. If grief were a season, it would be winter, barren, empty, yet silent. The air holds no moisture, no kisses of dew. I am in grief's cold clutches, and the cold is somehow fitting now. In that I take comfort. Everything around me feels empty and cold and has lost life too. My daughter is dead 2 years. Lucia is dead 2 years. She's so impossibly dead. I get it now. I get it, but I still don't like it. Thank you. And I can't wait to hear yours.